podcast that we didn't want to end.
Yeah.
For real.
And you didn't get to talk at all.
I didn't get to talk as much as I wanted to, but that's okay. That's okay, because Jimmy got his two-piece in, and I actually learned from what he was asking questions about, not talking about, because he didn't talk about anything in No, I'm kidding. I learned a ton today, and I'm so glad that we got to speak with our first guest.
What's his name?
His name is Art.
Art?
Also known as Arturo Commisso. The man is just so interesting and humble.
Yeah, so humble.
Really humble. Almost
humble? Like, bro. No, I'm kidding. Come on, man. Tell me.
Give yourself more credit for. You'd understand if you heard the things that went into my eardrums.
Yeah. Well, you will. You better.
You better. If you hang around past this point.
Yeah. If you like this intro.
Just you wait. Just you wait for the Let's Get It podcast with who? Art. Arturo Commisso.
You have to call him Art. Don't call him Arturo.
I know, don't call him that. Even though his name is really satisfying to say, but...
Yeah, he wanted to call by Art. And I've been working with him for a while, professionally, outside of the creative landscape. But I've always called him Art. And then,
I didn't know him till today.
Yeah, I kind of like...
Well, I didn't know him till today.
I just knew you would like him. I knew you'd like him.
Every single thing about his life, I was just like... What? Me too? No. But, like, he did it, like, at a cooler level, but I was like, no way. Like, I totally see myself doing something like that.
You held it back, but the thing that I was struggling with when we were talking with him was that I knew all these things were connecting to you, like, and I wanted to, like, I got excited knowing that.
Yeah.
So I need to get better at including you in the convo.
That's okay. Well, we're learning.
Yeah.
Let's editing.
Let's get editing.
We're getting after learning how to podcast. I think we're doing a great job.
I think that most people will really enjoy Art, and I think that was what I was hoping for. I wasn't like talking about myself that much.
You were
I was mostly
obsessing about yourself, dude.
I was asking him a lot of questions because I knew you didn't know him.
Yeah.
I probably could have thrown you in the water.
That's fine. That's fine. I'm cool. I enjoyed. I listened. I was with you guys this episode, except you could hear me laugh. And we can't hear you guys laugh or agree.
What if we had some of you throw, like, if you're listening to this and you're laughing, you should record your laughter. Record you listening to the podcast, and then the next podcast we throw in your laughing.
It's funny that
track.
we were assuming that they laughed.
Oh,
is that saying that we're funny?
Are we doing a comedy podcast?
Are we hilarious?
Are we hilarious?
Dude, are we funny, man?
Stand up.
Anyways. So if you did laugh or cry or have a reaction of any kind, record yourself doing it, send it my way, or actually we should have it sent to
Let's Get It
media at gmail.com. Spelled exactly how you would imagine it's spelled, except not, because it's LetsgEdit at symbol GMAIL period COM. And sometimes that O looks like a 0, but it is an O. Even though it's lowercase.
And sometimes the period is referred to as full stop.
Full stop.
That's what people in the UK call it.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy.
I learned from one of my favorite people on the planet that they say full stop.
At periods?
And they say that's weird. That's like period. It's like, why would you say period?
So the way they would say that is like, all right, LETSGEDIT at symbol GMAIL. Full stop. Complete stop. There's no more COM.
Yeah.
Does that make you happier to hear it like that?
Yeah, you sound way better than your older person.
I like that.
It's Tuesday, innit?
Oh, bruv.
Bruv.
But you mean the boys go back. I went Australian right
there. Outback.
Down the Goonies with the boys. And you have a tumble or two.
Do you think Art has a good British accent?
I don't know.
I bet he could.
We're not putting that part in. Just to let you know, that's offensive at that point.
Okay.
But the first part's fine.
Okay, fine.
The Gmail part was fine.
Yeah, it was funny.
Yeah.
So we got Art on there. First podcast guest ever on the Let's Get It Media podcast.
Have you ever looked through your the mesh thing?
Yeah.
In the light and seen like the go like that.
Our audio listeners are.
Wait, have you seen?
You need to check
I
us
know.
out on YouTube to see what we're doing right
Yeah.
now.
Well, did you see it too?
Do you see what I see?
Do you see what I see?
I knew you were gonna sing.
I can't help myself, bro.
Do you see
Wow,
what I see?
That is a full bass right there.
Was it good?
It was really good. I wish I had that low of a voice, but it doesn't matter because my voice is fine the way it is. And whatever I say.
Sam doesn't need to change it.
I don't need to change it all. Anyone that says so.
I learned how to sing in Vienna with the Vienna.
No.
The
Vienna?
Viennese.
It sounded like you were choking on a Vienna sausage right
It
there.
was a Viennese orchestra.
Orchestra?
Yeah, my friend is in the Viennese orchestra.
I've never heard it called Viennese, but I guess that's what it is.
It's the Vienna People's Orchestra. I don't know how it's called. It was
Do you know?
people in Austria. The Austrian.
Have you ever taught somebody how to squat in Vienna?
Yeah,
Do you tell them that it's Viennese?
a Viennese squat.
You get it? Viennese?
Viennese.
Squat down. Dude, that was hilarious.
That was funny.
It took me a while too, and it was applicable to you.
It was
And
very, I
like,
really ruined it, didn't I?
you
Didn't
did,
I?
yeah.
Viennese.
Yeah. You did.
Viennese.
I thought it was good.
It was funny, dude. I was thinking it was funny. I think that what is going to be better is that you will enjoy this episode. We learn about Arturo's entire career. I asked him as many questions as I could about how he thinks about.
We needed 24 hours for this podcast.
We did. We had an hour and a half minus. We had 2 hours minus 45 minutes because we had to set up everything, and we
My
were really
brother
anxious.
stole
And,
my mug, and
really anxious and sweaty. And so we started the podcast, and we're like, hey, man, are you good? Thanks for being patient with us. We know we don't like making people late, you know. Luckily, he was with us enjoying the experience.
oh yeah,
We had him on.
hopefully enjoying.
He was watching us suffer through with lighting because his lighting
Yeah.
setup, you'll see when because we're going to cut into his lighting. Oh, man, it's going to be something that you've never seen on a podcast before. If you're listening to this right now, just go on YouTube and give us a watch because honestly, it looks so good. It's going to be crispy clean 4K. You get the lighting of the gods, you know. We got
Yeah.
3
Everything you could ever want
in a
and
video
hope for
in a video podcast.
in a video podcast.
So, and we got we got us and Art. He's gonna have just you know what? If you're ever trying to figure out how to make a podcast and anyone asks you, send them to us. Send them to our podcast as an example of, wow, this is how you do it. And you know what? If you do that, maybe we'll help them out.
That's true.
And we probably will.
Probably.
If they work
yes,
for
we will.
if they work for a company that needs to figure out how to do podcasts, send them to our
Send them to our line.
line. We got
Hit up my line.
hit up a free consultation on our website, on our
yes.
Instagram, and our link in the bio.
Link in the bio.
If you send them to that, then we will.
There's a link in the bio.
There is a link. Actually, if you want any of the equipment that we use on this podcast, link is in the bio. Most of that equipment, funny enough, was recommended to me originally by Art because I trust him because most of the things that he makes, all of the things that he makes, I'm like, wow, that's incredible. And I highly recommend you check out. Actually, we're going to have some clips of his wedding videos.
I was gonna say we gotta add that. I mean, I wanna show a lot of. I wanna see his aquascapes. We didn't even get to talk about it that much, but even if we include it, but
I'm going to send him a message and tell him.
I need to see them.
Yeah, you guys got to see this stuff.
I have a need.
Well, when I started working with him, he was doing aquascapes, and then he started transitioning into video. Like I was able to start with him in his video editing career. I was working with him professionally before he did
really?
that. Yeah,
That's awesome.
yeah.
I'm jealous. I really wish I met him in his aquascape phase, because I'm permanently stuck in it and don't have one, and I want to live vicariously through somebody else.
Dude, what
So-
if you just got an a tank? He says it's really expensive. It's really
It's
expensive.
super expensive.
Yeah,
It's not cheap,
it's so crazy how like you get into that though.
dude. Aquariums are expensive
In general,
in general. Yeah,
oh, I want an aquarium in this kitchen.
they're very expensive.
It'd be so risky. Imagine having that much water.
Gallons, hundreds of gallons, like 100 and like that's actually not that much. Like 200
It's probably like
gallons is like a pretty like
It's not
Alright.
much.
that's like pretty big. That's like
It's like this table. Next time we do our podcast, we're gonna have a fucking fish tank.
we should just buy that fish tank table. Have you seen it? Actually, it's so bad for fish. We shouldn't do that.
Is it?
Yeah, because you get like it's a glass, and then the fish are underneath. I guarantee if you touch All the fish hear it.
They like die.
Well, it's just like torture. It's like, here, let's take a stethoscope, and we're gonna like have you put it on, just flick it constantly.
Yeah, and we mess around on the table too much.
It's like doing this. Just do it. No, it literally would be like that though. It's like if you were like to punch
No,
it.
don't do it. I'm a fish. I'm a fish. I'm a dude.
It's actually not that bad.
I'm a fish.
But it'd be worse than that. You're a fish.
All right. So you guys, we're in for a treat.
We're in for a treat.
That was a treat.
It was a treat. I feel full.
I'm already actually
God, that was a great
simultaneously full and starving for more. You know what I mean?
Insatiable.
Insatiable. You can't
That
get
might
enough.
be the word.
You cannot get enough of art.
Art is a drug.
Art
right?
is a drug.
His is insatiable.
And his art is a drug.
What else is insatiable that's not drugs?
Creating things.
What can you get addicted to?
I don't know. I get addicted to like making videos, video games.
So art is like video editing. He's insatiable. In Jimmy's perspective. Now, in my perspective, art is audio editing, which is also insatiable. And together,
Let's Get It Media was formed in this podcast.
it's like when you have two giant, really big titans of industry.
yeah.
clash. I'm sorry. I'm on zero fumes here.
Sony and
I had 4 hours of sleep.
why?
And I didn't tell you that. I went to bed at like 4 a.m.
Why?
I couldn't sleep.
Just sitting there?
No, I was just sitting there. I'm like, God damn it. Do I want to have this podcast with art? And it's just not happening. So I couldn't sleep. I couldn't think. I couldn't eat. I didn't eat before this. And all I was thinking about was like, God, when is this podcast with art going to start?
Seriously?
Not really. But I want that to be part of it.
Okay. That's how I feel.
So here, this was my actual response. Yes, seriously.
Yeah.
And it's cut.
Wow, dude.
Wow.
That's insane. Well, anyway, you will enjoy this if you're listening to this on Spotify, Apple, iRadio, Stitcher, some other few that I installed this on.
There's so many.
There's a bunch, but if you're listening, do it on that. What the hell? Get on Spotify too.
Spotify and YouTube.
And YouTube. YouTube's
I
better.
really want you to watch it on YouTube. If you watch it on YouTube, then just don't watch us.
I know Art on a professional level, and I've known him on a professional level from a mutual interest in powerlifting. However, he's also been crucial in helping me make better videos. I didn't know anything about lighting, and I pretty much asked you like 100 questions about like what lights to get, how do I set them up, like why does my face look really dark on one side, like all these things to kind of just look better and get more comfortable. And I just first want to say that that's been so helpful, and part of the reason why I'm even at this point where we can do this podcast is just knowing a little bit more about lighting. Obviously, you've got your lighting down. I was like wondering how the hell you even did that.
It's just a couple lights, man. Nowhere to put them. It's pretty, I don't know. It's one of those things where if you can see it and you have the stuff, then it's not hard to make it work. But I think the hardest part is knowing what to buy and then buying everything like either all at once or one at a time, because lighting is one of those things that I think people can't justify the value of like immediately. They'll see the price tag and they'll try to get away with something cheap, and it works to an extent. But I think when you get serious about it and you actually invest like the hundreds, thousands of dollars, you'll notice like a big difference pretty quickly. And then it makes learning lighting easier if you have the right tools. If you have shitty tools to start, you're only going to be learning how to fix problems rather than get the results you want. So
Well, no, that's pretty cool though. What do you think about that?
I was gonna say that's just like audio like stuff with editing and everything. If you get the bad microphone, you're gonna be stuck doing a lot of editing to try to fix it. If you get the right one in the beginning, it's just less work in the end.
Get it done. It's just like literally you press a few buttons, you're good to go and post.
Yeah.
Well, that kind of brings up a bigger point, but I want to also like ask you before we dig into this. I know from what I understand, your primary job is video editing, like, and I don't know to what depth that, like, how far down that goes. Like, what does that really mean? Like, if you're a video editor, like, what does that mean for you and, like, in general, as you, like, notice that job description just kind of floating around in a lot of different places?
I think if you edit video, you're a video editor. I mean, to what degree, I think depends on what industry you're in. So, I'm in the marketing industry, so what I edit might not necessarily be a feature film, which is, a career path that a lot of people aspire to do. But I mean, I like what I do. It's an awesome job. Kind of fell into it, to be honest.
How?
So I am, but like, my goal was to be a wedding filmmaker, shooting weddings. And I responded to a post on a Facebook group from somebody looking for an editor. So I looked at that post thinking like, okay, maybe if I edit a wedding, I'll get better at shooting weddings before I shoot my first wedding. So like, it's like, let me see what's going on. It turns out that it was like a corporate gig. I had no idea what I signed up for. I basically just responded to the post like, hey, I'm new. I'll do the job for free. Tell me if you like it. And I guess he was like, oh, okay. It's actually this. I was like, oh, shit. Okay, well, I'm going to do it anyways. So I did that edit in like a week. Turned out that I was editing faster and at like a higher quality than the people they had used. So they continued to use me. A few months later, they sort of brought me on like a full-time basis. And I've been with that company for about a year and a bit now, and I run their video department.
Dude,
How about that?
Yeah.
That's so crazy. Because you were good like right away, or had you been doing video editing like as a hobby in the past, or like what does that entail?
So I have a background in audio engineering. So I was a musician first, and a graphic designer, and a photographer, and I was working in recording studios. So video just sort of seemed like the amalgamation of all of those things. So it was kind of just like, oh, Adobe Premiere is pretty much Pro Tools mixed with Photoshop. And then it's just like,
That's spot on.
so, yeah, that's about it. So it was pretty intuitive from that standpoint. But I mean, I'm still learning shit every day. And on like a technical level and a creative level. So
Were you in music production then, or were you an artist, or
both. Yeah.
both?
Yeah, I was a drummer
What,
first.
did you play instruments?
Yeah, I was a drummer. And then
Oh, nice.
yeah, then got into recording bands when I was in college. And somehow ended up DJing and like producing house music. Like I've been all over the place.
It always happens
Yeah.
somewhere down the road.
Yeah, I slipped and fell, became a DJ. Whoops.
Whoops. Whoops. How did this happen? Oh no.
Oops. Ooh, a turntable.
So this is the question Sam has asked me and I've asked Sam. But when did you first realize that you were, I don't like to use this word, but it's just the word that I think is most understood. But like, when did you realize that you were creative? And did you ever have trouble with that word in general
Yeah.
and what it meant?
Yeah. So when I found out my mom fell down the stairs with me when she was pregnant, it was sort of like, I'm kidding.
Like, damn, dude. Ouch.
No, I feel so growing up with the name Art, I feel like definitely had some sort of undertones or like subtext to contribute to it. Like everybody would ask me, hey, your name's Art, can you draw? Or are you artistic? And I'm just like, should I be? So, yeah. So when I was a kid, I was always drawing stuff like tattoo inspired, like drawings, like snakes, naked ladies, like that kind of shit. But it was terrible. But I tried. I kept trying. It wasn't until I guess I might have been in grade 4 or 5, like we had a piano, just sort of like one of those toy pianos kicking around the house, and I was just screwing around with it. Apparently I learned how to play piano by ear, and when my parents heard that, they immediately signed me up for lessons.
Oh my God.
So I did that for a couple of years. I hated piano. I wasn't really having fun with it. Asked my parents for a drum kit in grade 8. And then that was sort of like the tipping point for me. So like after grade 8, I would say I went fully committed into music and graphic design at around the same time. There was like a local music scene going on, and everyone was in bands. Everybody needed merch. Everybody wanted a logo. So I sort of figured out how to do that and did that all through high school. Yeah, it's sort of always been with me. Just, I don't know. I guess I've never really felt it until like recently that this is what I'm doing.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I mean, me and Sam had like a totally different like process to figure out like, holy crap, we can create some things. We can make some shit, you know? Like, it sounds like you were ready to go because people kept bringing it up.
There's some pressure involved.
Yeah, like, hey, you're going to make
like,
some
are
thing?
you an artist yet?
Yeah.
And then you have to say, I guess I have to be.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess so.
Were you always were you interested in it from like an external perspective? Like, did you notice like when you were watching films or when you were like, did you like to go to museums and shit like that?
Yeah, I was a huge dork. Yeah, for sure. I mean, like I was pretty blessed growing up in that like I had a supportive family, but also kind of cursed too because they were strict. So like when everybody else was like, you know, fucking around outside and, you know, lighting shit on fire and getting drunk, like I was at home on a computer, like with no internet, like basically making shit in Paint and like just doing stuff by myself. So yeah, I don't know. I had a lot of free time to just explore when I was younger.
I feel like a lot of people will point to that as like a reason why they don't. It's like, oh, I don't have time to learn that. Like I'm busy, or like I don't have time to figure out how to like make a video. I'll just pay someone to do that. And like when it comes to building businesses, I think it really chokes them a lot if they don't have that like ability to just, well, how would I learn this thing? You know, like if you're a startup, if you think about being a startup and then you don't have that mindset of like, oh, I'm going to try to figure this out. Well, you're competing against other people who can pay a lot more for talent.
Yeah.
You know, like I just find that it's so valuable to kind of double down on your creativity so that you can trust that if you run into a new problem, because you probably have like new problems every day that you're like, oh crap, I've never done this before. You know, how do I solve this? Like that's kind of like a habit almost.
Yeah. I mean, but wouldn't you argue that if your time is better focused on one thing, then maybe it might be better to pay a creative to do it?
Yeah, I think at some point that's probably better. Like at some point, go and do your thing and spend your time where it's best, you know, spent. But I mean, I know a lot of small businesses are money strapped, and they usually are like, hey, how about we get an intern to do this?
Mm-hmm.
You know, how about we get someone to do this for free? And like, just kind of.
I was also going to say that it kind of depends on what level of quality you want to. So at one point, I feel like it definitely is like, oh, definitely hire out somebody to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Especially if you have the money to, and you can buy something that you're going to be like, holy crap, this is exactly everything I could have dreamed that this product was going to turn out to be.
Yeah.
But like if you're posting content on like almost a daily basis,
Yeah.
Mm.
then you're hiring somebody on full time.
Yeah.
What's your experience been like with getting hired, Art? Because that's probably, I might be jumping ahead, but I'm kind of excited about that one. Like, since you've been freelancing for a while on top of doing the wedding gigs, like, what's your experience been?
I think getting that first paycheck is really like a game changer. I know like when I first started out doing this and I wanted to get paid for it, it was almost hard for me to take money from people just because I liked doing what I do so much. But like that first big check, you know, when somebody comes to you for a big job and you go in hot and you're not sure if they're gonna bite, and they bite, it's like, holy fuck, like this is it. And then it's almost like a drug because you keep wanting to chase that, and like every time you get an inquiry, you're gonna want to push more and get more money, obviously, if you deserve it. I mean, don't quote people 20 grand for something that somebody can do for like, you know, $100, but like, I mean, have confidence going into it. And I think you can make a lot of money. What was the question again?
I guess the current job you acquired because you were able to pop on Facebook and say to someone, I'm going to do this for free. You know, so like, I think a lot of people are afraid to do things for free at first.
You have to.
Because, you know, they're like, I'm good at this, so why would I ever do this for free?
You have to, but you have to be careful. Like if you're good at what you do, but you can't show people like work that's not like a personal project, then nobody's gonna pay you for that kind of work. Like it's all good and fun to like do passion projects, and they're good for growing as a creative, but like unless you can take somebody else's vision and run with it, then that's where the money is. Because I mean, you can make stuff for yourself all the time, and it's easy. It's when somebody else asks you to do something for them, and then you have to take away like your ego and your biases, and you're working for them now. So it's a weird thing to get your head around, but definitely,
especially when you have a big ego. I feel like especially the more specialist you are, like if you go down deep in video editing and you're just like, I know how to make the best cuts, and this is the right and this is the wrong way to do things. It seems like those people have a tough time with suggestions from the client.
You have to get to that point though. Like there's definitely like a peak at the top of the mountain where you could tell a client to fuck off. And am I allowed to swear on this podcast?
Yeah. No, well, you've broken 100 rules. No, I'm kidding. You can. We weren't going to say anything till after.
Well,
can't swear. We have to bleep out like 700 times.
Welcome to Canada. No, but
that's what all Canadians are like.
Like the more people you have coming to you, the more you can get away with stuff like that. So, with revisions, you could tell a client no, or you can turn clients away. Like when you have people knocking on your door, you're in a position where you can really just turn away work because it doesn't fit with your style. So until you get to that point, then I would really like, you need to take what comes, like whatever comes your way, you got to take it, but then slowly start injecting your own flavor into it and making it you. So people are hiring you for you now, and you're more of an asset than a commodity.
I want to take things back a little bit to your first paid gig for something, whether it was video editing or did you ever get paid as a drummer?
Like $50 in a beer, maybe. Yeah.
So like, what was the most notable, maybe not notable, I guess, but like when you first decided to put yourself out there, because I think it's a vulnerable thing to be a freelancer, or you know, working for doing your job like for someone else. Was there like my first time? You know, do you have like a my first
like
time story or whatever?
My first big job.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was for product photography actually, and so I was only learning product photography at the time. I had some products from a company that I was using sitting around the house, and I did something cool with it. I was proud of it. I ended up sending it to the company and was like, hey, like, here. Like, I did this. If you want to use it, cool. Like, if not, whatever. And they were like, oh, thank you. Like, we're going to tag you in all the pictures and like give you credit and stuff. I was like, awesome. A month later, and it went up to like somebody in marketing, and they're like, we want a whole series of like shots like this. How much would it cost? And I'm like, fuck.
So normally I charge $20, but this, no, I'm kidding.
Yeah. So they wanted 6 shots. They gave me like complete creative license. Like, they're just like, yeah, you know, like we don't want like commercial work. Like, we want them to be art pieces. And I was like, is that it? Like,
Did you read my name?
what's the catch? Like,
Yeah.
like there's got to be a catch. Like, so I went online, found like the first contract template I could find, drafted up a contract, sent out a proposal, and like within an hour it was signed and paid. And I was like, holy shit. Like, and then I was like, oh shit, now I got to do the work. I had no idea what I was doing, but yeah.
It's so scary though for a lot of people.
Yeah, it is. Every time I send out a proposal, I get scared. Like, for wedding stuff, like it's hard.
That would scare the hell out of me.
So
I just went to a wedding not too long ago. Those people can be extra
oh yeah.
to deal with.
Yeah, well,
Because it's like their day.
it is.
Yeah, it's all about them. It has to be perfect in every way.
Yeah, why do people want to do wedding? Like, why is it like a thing? Like, that shit sounds so bad. Like, is it just because it pays well for like consistently?
What? Wedding work?
Like weddings?
I love weddings.
Oh, you do?
I do, yeah, no, for sure. It's like I don't know. I went into it with like the same sort of, you know, impression of it. Like, oh yeah, like the wedding industry is where, you know, musicians go to die, and like, oh, if you couldn't make it as a photographer, you're going to be a wedding photographer. But like, honestly, like, it's really rewarding. And for video, like, you can get really creative with the work, and, you know, from an editing standpoint, and even like cinematography, like it's not the same thing as it used to be. So yeah, like,
Do you think people are more comfortable with, like, what do you think has changed? What do you mean by like that it used to be?
I was gonna say I agree with that.
it's not like
You haven't?
Uncle Tom with his camcorder on like
exactly.
a rolling tripod, just like recording everything. Like, they're more like short films than they are, you know.
I was gonna say that.
Do you know some people that do?
Oh, I'm just saying, if you've seen any recent like wedding photo shoots, videos, anything like that, it's way more cinematic than it has been over the past few. I swear, since like the GoPro came out.
Yeah.
And you could get like, you could attach it to a drone. You get all these 6 shots now, and you can. I mean, everything has changed. I feel like, what, 10 years? Over the past 10 years?
Yeah, I guess so.
It's when
Every single
DSLRs came
new
out.
wedding video I see, I'm like, oh my God, when's the movie
When I
coming
watch
out?
when I watch Art's wedding videos, I'm just like, wow, I have a lot to learn. Like, every time I'm just like, oh my God. He's like, yeah, I have 17 different cameras that I use at very specific times. I'm like, all right, I got one camera and a external monitor, and I don't know anything else. So, you know, how did you? So, like, when you did your first wedding, did you have all the equipment that you like? Like, how did you figure out like what equipment you needed? Did you just take what you had, or?
So here's the callback. So after that, like after my first job, that job paid for my current camera. So that bought my A7 III. I wasn't planning on shooting video. I was like, oh, product photography. Like, this is fun. Like, I get to do light and like cool shit with fire and water. Like, why wouldn't this be fun?
Airbender.
a buddy of ours was getting married. He was like, hey, do you guys know how to do video? Like, do you want to do my wedding? And I was like, like, I know what goes into weddings. Like, I've watched videos like behind the scenes, like, you know, those Matt Johnson guys.
So you had your first gig, you got paid for product photography, and then you never really thought you were going to do video. And then something happened. What happened?
a friend asked us to do it, and I was like, there might be something here. But also, like, weddings are probably the most stressful, like, jobs for videographers. Like no question about it. Like, we probably have the hardest job on the wedding day. And I'm not just saying that, like, it's insane. So I wasn't like 100% sold on it. Like, I knew it wasn't something that needed to be taken like sort of casually. Like, I wanted to go into it prepared and knowing that I was going to, make something that I was happy with and like the couple would be happy with. Cause at the end of the day, like, if I'm going to do something for cheap, it's got to be used in my portfolio. So that's sort of where that went. So I spent months like falling asleep to YouTube videos of wedding filmmakers shooting full weddings. So like, I'm just in it like the whole time.
Ready.
I was on Facebook groups, like messaging other wedding videographers in the area, like, hey, like, let me shoot with you. I'm not going to charge you. Like, I just want to shoot. So like, I wanted to ease into that. Anyways, that wedding turned out to be kind of a shit show. We pulled it off, but like everything that I prepared for to like not go wrong kind of went wrong. We had like cameras overheating during the ceremony, just like driving everywhere, batteries dying when they shouldn't. I kicked a photographer's lens like 20 feet. Like,
oh, jeez.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Your anxiety must have been higher than ours was before this podcast.
Oh, dude, no. Like, you need to get on my level when it comes to anxiety because it's like, yeah. So we pulled it off.
You kicked a lens, and did anyone notice this stuff, or was it just you and your?
I have it on camera. Like,
oh, you do.
So I'm like strafing with the gimbal. And the photographer is like on the floor, like shooting up with the couple. And he's got like, I don't know, like a Zeiss Batis lens, like just chilling on the floor, like in my path. So I'm like sidestepping with the gimbal and I kick it. Like I didn't see it. And all I heard was like, click, 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 boop. And then I just like froze. I was like, holy, like, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. It was really uncomfortable the rest of the night, but.
Did it break?
I don't know. I know the
you don't have a broke?
The filter broke. Like the protective filter broke. I don't think any of the actual glass did, but.
I'm getting anxiety just thinking about that.
Dude, yeah. It was like
my heart's
like a $2,500 lens. Like
yeah. I think people say $2,500 and it doesn't sound like $2,500. Like that, I feel like the $2,500 make it sound less expensive, and then it's just a lens, and it's a prime lens too. Yeah. Yeah. It has one.
That's expensive.
It has one
really
focus or zoom. What is it? One
focal length.
Yeah, one focal length.
Yeah.
So what did the final product look like of this video? Like it's just.
It was good. We killed it. I submitted it to Matt Johnson's YouTube channel, if you guys know who that is. If you've ever looked up like how to encode a video in Premiere, you've probably found a Matt Johnson video. Mm-hmm. So like, yeah, that got reviewed on his channel. He lost his mind apparently. I don't know. Like it was good, and I was proud of it.
He thought it was sick.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you meant bad.
So your first ever wedding video, you sent to a YouTuber that does this professionally, and he was like, "This is awesome."
Basically. It was my first video ever. Like I'd never shot anything else. Like my first video was a wedding.
Dude found his calling.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, jeez.
One would say he's naturally gifted. What do you think about that saying, by the way? Do you feel like when you do well, you're like, yeah, I am? Or do you say like, I really worked hard and I learned all these skills that like taught me this, and that, it just seems like I'm really good because you don't see the other stuff that I did?
I think it's a little bit of both, because unless you pick something up immediately, like I feel like there's some sort of like instant gratification that sort of fuels the extra work that goes behind it. So like, say you pick up a guitar for the first time and you might be a little better than you expected. Like that's just enough of a reward to stimulate the extra practice, but like definitely like, yeah, 10,000 hours or whatever it is, like has to go into it. It's not just like, oh, I could, you know, make masterpieces and I just did it today. So like,
Yeah.
yeah,
Because you already knew a lot more about sound design and like editing in that way too.
Yeah.
Like, did you feel like that helped your first video or?
yeah, for sure. Like if I went into it like a complete noob, like with no other like transferable experience, and it definitely would have been a disaster. But like doing, you know, design, audio, photography, it's like it just, I knew what I had to do. I just didn't know how to do it. So
That's interesting. Because you learned on the job for the wedding thing and then also learned on the job to edit the final product.
yeah.
Was there a difference in how you approached the post-production? You know, like, did you still ask a bunch of people or were you on your own with that?
I knew what the final product was going to look like. I just needed to get in there and do it. So yeah, it wasn't, I don't remember it being challenging. I think it took like a week and a half to put together a 7-minute video.
Something that we talked about on our last podcast was just like the value of having mentors. I had like a business mentor when I first started like an online coaching business, and he helped me to just kind of get over that. Hey, go do your thing. Like he was like, go do something. Go just do it every single day, and you're gonna probably suck for a while. And I did, you know, looking back at my old stuff, like it's like so cringy, it's insane. I actually just looked at some of the old videos; it's so bad. Do you have any mentors for or maybe there are a few critical mentors that you think helped you to prepare for something like a full-time video editing gig when you have had no experience prior to that?
No. I'm a lone wolf, man. I just, you know, just use YouTube and Google. That's
what I was gonna say.
That's my thing.
I have the same process. I fall asleep to the stuff that I'm learning.
Yeah.
I feel like that's the best way to do it.
Yeah.
Because like you're like trying to like soothe your mind to fall asleep, but also it's like stimulating enough that you're like, oh, I'm gonna think about that tomorrow and I'm gonna do it, and then you wake up
Yeah.
and it's the first thing on your mind.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have so that idea of like going all in and like absorbing yourself with stuff online? One of the things I've noticed is that, like, for example, let's say with powerlifting, when I first started powerlifting, like I would use YouTube and Google a lot, and it makes you feel really confident because people who are on YouTube and Google are there to like speak confidently about the subject. But then once you get into it, my first reaction will a lot of times once I start realizing like what it actually is about is like these guys are half lying, you know, half bullshitting. Somewhat it's helpful, like you get why they simplified the things in the way that they did, but then you realize like none of it's this simple. Like and if you meet like your idols in that space, like your YouTube idols, it's almost like in powerlifting, it's like I wish I didn't meet you. Like you're not as cool as you seem, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Like, are you saying like, yeah, they're confident in what they're saying, but it's almost like they're not giving you the entire picture, right? Like,
yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, especially when it comes to like creativity and like the technical stuff behind it, or not creativity, but like content creation, and they'll tell you to do one thing one way, but they don't explain the why. So like, why are we using this approach versus say another approach that will get you into the same direction? Even like some stuff that I'll follow for like Photoshop tutorials for like retouching and shit. Like they'll go deep into like the filters menu, and like you'll learn that the posterize filter isn't just like a one-click done, use it as an effect. Like it has a purpose to be there, but it doesn't explain what that purpose is or like why so it's like, do we want to teach you how to do it in 2 minutes, or do we want to teach you how to do it in 25 minutes? Like I would rather
I'd rather do the 25, man.
Yeah.
At this point, if someone has like a short video, I get like annoyed.
Yeah.
It's like, that's not it. There's no way.
Well, you learn how to do it, but you don't learn exactly what you've been explaining, why you have to do it, what it does, how it can work with other things.
Yeah.
You're just like, all right, I needed it for this one example. I'm going to just do it.
Which is helpful if you are learning like on a stitch and like go, you know, you just, this is a missing area. Here's the one thing. Okay, I'll move on to the next thing. And you can kind of like combine, like you build a bunch of tutorials that you've mastered, and then you can kind of fit together the puzzle piece that you're trying to put together for that puzzle. And then it's like, okay, can I repeat this?
Yeah, you know, and then you have to translate it into something else, and it just gets jumbled into a mess.
That's where it falls apart, is when you want to try and, you know, scale what you learned into like another project. It's like, oh, okay, well, maybe this method doesn't work for this. But I get it with like tutorials and stuff. Like it's hard to dig deep into what's driving your decision making when you can just do it on the fly. Like it's
Yep. 100%.
That's hard. I remember when we were earlier on, we were trying to like make sure our audio podcast sounded good, and we were just like refreshing some of the things. And Sam, you were saying that you were watching a YouTuber and they were trying to say like what were some of those like weird things that happened?
Well, when I first started, because I didn't really edit podcasts before, and I'm like, oh, I gotta learn a few things and how to get everything sounding right, volume levels matched, and stuff like that. And every single YouTube video I watched had a different way of explaining how to do it. Some people are like
the same thing too.
They're like kind of the same thing, yeah. Everyone did it a different way. That's like, people will be like, oh, just throw a compressor on the sound and it'll be fine. Just do this. Use a ton of noise suppression. Put it to 100. And I'm like, that's seem
a lot,
right. So I did it. I watched all the 2-minute videos, like 100 of them. And I'm like, well, no one's saying the same thing.
Yeah.
Why is nobody saying the same thing? And you like, at the end of the day, they all have different microphones. They all have different experiences. They're all recording in different environments. They're all doing all these different things. So some of the cases, they are right.
Yeah.
But it doesn't help someone that is recording with their phone in a open room with loud noises.
And you do a lot more.
They're like, I just got to throw a compressor on it.
Yeah.
And it'll sound great.
Yeah. That's that allows you to, I think the fact that you're able to look at those videos and say, this doesn't seem like the whole thing, you know, it seems like that's like that step of, wow, I've learned a lot. Like, because otherwise you'd be like, sweet. Like the noise suppression one, when I first started doing audio editing for the RTS podcasts, like I thought you throw noise suppression at 100%. Like
you're suppressing all the noise.
No noise is allowed.
Yeah, you're a robot at that point.
No noise is allowed. But then you realize that you sound like a robot, like you said. And I was like, I remember I was doing one episode with RTS. I was doing a classroom, like one of these products that we were recording, and I had to figure out everything, kind of similar to you. And like, I didn't know that you were good at all this stuff. I don't know if I was working with you. I think I was. It was last summer. Yeah, like last summer. I didn't know you're good at all this stuff, so I probably should have asked you back then. But I just remember like there was a super echoey room that we were recording in, and usually we don't. It's like nothing was in there. It was just boxes and wood, and like there's a window, and that was it. And it was so echoey, so I was like, okay, remove all the echo. And that I just ended up turning Mike into this robot. But the thing was, I didn't know. Like I was like, yeah, that sounds good, you know. And then the next day,
sounds better than before.
There's no echo, you know. And then the next day, I listened to it, and I was like, oh my God, I need to release this today. I need to fix this entire thing. So I was up for I went back to the original audio, fixed it all. Probably was still crap. But I'm just so glad that I like re-listened to it and like give it a double take, because it would have been.
Have to.
But but you don't know, like when you watch these videos, like, and I think it's important to like have some backup processes. Like I'm sure, Art, you have some where you're like, especially with like color grading, or you know, you made a recent video that was kind of like newer, you know, like some new styles with the editing, from what I understand. You know, like, do you do a lot of self-reviewing, or do you have people that like double check you, or what?
Depends, really. I used to spend a lot of time reviewing shit, and now it's like I just have to finish things. It's like you can only massage something so much before it just falls apart. So once it gets to a point where I'm happy with, I'll sit on it for a day, come back to it the next day. If I'm still happy with it, maybe make a couple final adjustments, export it, and that's it. That's it. Like, because I found when I was younger and I was working on music, I would spend entirely way too much time on one idea where I could have gone down 10 other paths and created 5 more things to get me closer to that level where I had, say 100 pieces of work that incrementally get better and better as I go on. So yeah, I don't necessarily waste too much time reviewing and getting feedback, because at the end of the day, like, if you're happy with it, that's all that matters. If your client's happy with it, that's all that matters. Because I sent a video to my mom and she came at me with all this feedback, and I was like, oh fuck, like you're right, but like also I've already sent it to the client.
Yeah.
So what am I going to do now? So yeah.
That's really important, because I've worked with a lot of people who everyone thinks they're fucking like Roger Deakins, or like they think and I bet they don't even understand how they operate anyway, because how would you know how, it's Roger Deakins, right? That's the colorist. Cinematographer, yeah. Or Christopher Nolan, like all of their work is like critically acclaimed. And so because they aspire to be Roger Deakins and Christopher Nolan, they don't want to put out anything that would like potentially tarnish that potential. I personally don't have that as aspiration, so I don't really relate to that. I also, like, I don't know, man. It's like this, there's obviously people that are able to produce, like, and we always say like 80%, like a minimum viable product. Like they're able to do that, and their minimum viable product is like better than anyone has ever made, But where do you find your limit is? Like, it's just you like it, and like, what's your take on that kind of mindset in general?
You just need to make your next project better than your last one. That's it. Like that's progress. And even if it's like, 0.5% better, you're still getting better. And obviously that curve is going to sort of taper off the better you get. It's not exponential, right? So yeah, there needs to be some expectations that you set for yourself, and know that every time you do something, it should be better than your last, until you get to a point where you're complacent and then you start falling behind. Then you just got to be aware of that. Yeah, I don't know. It's especially when everything's subjective. It's hard. It's hard, man. Like that's why I don't really like getting feedback. Like if I'm posting something, it's more for like just so people know I did something. I don't really care whether you like it or not. Like it's just a way to get my name out there. This is the work I'm doing.
And to most people, do you find like, who actually gives you helpful feedback? Do you know anyone that does?
I don't ask for it.
Yeah.
I don't ask for it, and I don't seek it. Yeah. I don't look at it if there is any.
Well, what if they do? What if they, like, someone like comments in the DMs and they're like, "Hey man, that was really good, but that one scene, the purple was too bright," or whatever.
No, thanks. I'll keep it in mind for next time, right? Like, I'm not going to go in and change something when I call it done.
Repost it.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. And that's the shit thing too, because once something's on Instagram for like a week, are you going to take it down and repost it again? Like, because you had to.
Sorry, let me fix that for you.
Yeah, I've already did it.
Your magenta was shifted by 5 stops. Like, you're splitting hairs, and most people wouldn't notice it. The only people who are going to notice things like that are either like other creatives or, you know, people that you told.
So obviously, one of the things that I really think is awesome is that you're actually not only really dedicated to, you know, making work, but it's actually your job, you know, editing and creating videos. I mean, you're kind of everything. You're not just like an editor. You're making the movies, you're making the films, you're also editing audio from what I understand, you're adding sound effects. Like you're pretty much making movies.
Full stack.
Yeah, you're doing it. I mean,
Full
is
stack
that true?
audio,
Are you doing everything, or do you have specialists
For weddings? For weddings, I'm doing everything. That's why I love it. Like,
Okay.
yeah, you get everything, man. Like you get sound design, you get like audio mixing. There's a little bit of DJing in there too, and you're selecting music and like easing in and out of songs. Like it's, I don't know, man. I feel like I was supposed to be here.
Oh, must feel good.
Yeah.
That's got it.
Yeah, definitely.
I feel like a lot of people.
You're shooting the wedding, and then like halfway through, you're like, "Yo, I gotta get up on stage. Somebody else hold the camera. I'm gonna DJ really quick."
Yeah.
Get out here! I can do this.
Yeah. I mean, I could tell you a story about one wedding, but
Yeah, tell us.
no,
It's too bad.
maybe I don't think it would ever get out. But like, yeah, no, I filmed a wedding where the DJ was not a wedding DJ. He was just like a DJ who was gonna do the wedding, and so whenever I get a wedding job, like my first steps are contact the photographer and then get in touch with the DJ, because I got to plug like my recorders into their shit and like make sure that I'm getting their speeches. Photographers, like I just need to make sure we can work together and like we're not going to
Walk around each other.
Yeah, we're not like, it's a collaborative effort, not like a competitive effort.
Mm-hmm.
So when I called this DJ, he was like, what do you mean? Like, I have a mixer. I was like, what do you mean? You only like, he's like, yeah, like I don't have like a sound system or anything. I was like, what? Like I've never had that before. So when I got to the wedding, he was like, he looked like he was 15 years old. Like had no idea what was going on. Like he had asked me.
Wait, so he didn't have like a PA system?
He asked
or
me
like any like.
He asked me what he should rent, and I was like, I can't tell you that. Like, that's not my job. Like, if I tell you to rent something and you don't know how to use it, that comes on me. Like, so yeah, so that was fun.
Oh my god,
That's so stressful, man.
So yeah, it's like weddings are stressful.
just holding up a Bluetooth speaker.
Weddings are stressful. Yeah.
I didn't realize you had to collaborate with the DJ.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have guessed that too.
I would never guess that.
But I
Makes
mean,
a lot more sense now, though.
I'm set up so that if they don't want to work with me, I'll still get what I need. Like my audio bag for weddings is like I have more audio recorders than I have lenses. It's hilarious.
That's awesome,
Dude.
That's my aspiration. I just want to keep buying microphones and all the equipment I can possibly get.
Yeah.
That's kind of why it's fun to do this professionally, because now you get to do this and it's like you're getting paid, and now you can invest. Like you just, it sounds like you invest a whole lot back into your work. Really,
Yeah.
I mean,
If it's not my computer, it's like my camera bag
yeah.
and food.
I feel like that's so much more satisfying. Like, what else are you gonna buy? Like, if it's not like getting you better at the thing that you're doing, like.
I mean, you could say for retirement, but
No,
Retirement.
man. We don't need to retire. We're free.
I think it's dangerous when you can write stuff off, you know, like usually you'll feel bad about making a camera purchase, but then you're like, oh, well, this is a business investment, right? Like I'll I'll put it on my business credit card.
Yeah.
Collect the Amazon points that you get with it.
Yeah, but dude, it's like, well, if you don't believe you can make it work, it's like a shot at yourself, you know? Like you've invested in a thing, so now it's almost, I've always felt like now that I have this, for example, like an external monitor, like I better use it now.
Yeah.
Like I better maximize it, you know, and try to figure out how to use it. And then it puts more pressure too on to capitalize on it, to monetize on it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, definitely. You have that thing sitting there and you don't want it collecting dust. You better use it, right? But I mean, I got tons of shit on this shelf that I bought because I thought they were cool. I used them maybe like 3 or 4 times. It's just, I don't know. I guess everybody falls into that trap. But I guess what I'm saying is like, yeah, you should invest in yourself, but do it wisely.
Yeah.
It's not always.
What's the piece of equipment that you found to be the most impactful to your ability to make money with your work?
A camera. Yeah, just straight up a camera and my computer, I guess. Because like I was editing on like a MacBook for the longest time, and it was just so slow.
Do you feel
I
like
could not
people,
imagine that now.
Yeah.
If I were to go back and like try to do some of the stuff that I'm doing now, even now it's like taking a bit, but like on my Mac, there's no way I could do it.
I feel like people personally are, so it's like I want to get people into this. Like I'll have people that are like, oh, I want to make the videos that you make, and I'm like, cool. Do you, like, I don't know where to start them out, you know, because I know my processes and they're based on the things that I have, and the things I have took me like 3-4 years to get. I don't know what I would like. I don't even really know how to help people if they have nothing.
Yeah.
I know, like, yeah, you can make a video on your phone, but that's a different process completely.
I tend to just leave them with very little and just let them sort of, feed them to the wolves, man. Buy a camera and just don't give them any direction. Like, but like really though, if they really want to do it, they're gonna make the effort to get some education. Like it's really like it's almost crippling them to say, here's a camera, but like come to me whenever you have a question, because you're not setting them up to, you know, learn on their own. You're basically setting them up to eat out of your hands. So if I was going to teach somebody how to start, I would tell them what camera to buy and like just tell them to shoot. And then, you know what, like send me your work when you have work, but like I can't hold the camera for you basically, right? Like,
yeah,
it's, you have to put in the effort before somebody's going to start giving you knowledge. At least like that's the way I feel about it.
That's really good advice. I'm taking that right now because I hadn't shot anything, and I've just kind of jumped into editing videos, and I've wanted to start shooting stuff, whether it be photography or videos. And I feel like I've just been kind of dependent on other people teaching me rather than just figuring shit out myself. And I feel like I'm definitely going to just start diving into that. And I don't even know why I haven't.
I don't
because
think you're,
well, no.
I don't think
with
you're as dependent
video,
as some people.
With video, though.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't know if you've experienced it, Art, but I think I think you might be judging yourself a little hard, because I think you just haven't really jumped in yet. That's it. I don't think you're dependent on anyone. I think you're just maybe a little bit more like,
I'm more cautious that I'm doing something wrong.
Yeah.
But I think I definitely could do a lot more of my own research. And I do it for audio all the time. I don't know why I don't just do this. I don't know.
But you have to do this.
Maybe it's harder to visualize.
I'm inspired now.
It's harder to visualize certain things. I think when it comes to like, okay, I'm going to dig into this, you can kind of visualize where you want to go.
Yeah.
Like you have an inspiration, I guess. Like, okay, I want to make this video. How do I do it? Versus like, videos are hard. You know?
you have to fuck up to get better. Right? Just don't do it on the client's dime. And I think you pretty much.
Well, that's the scariest thing, right? Like, how do you get over that? Am I gonna? Because you obviously fuck up on their dime, but you don't let them know, right? Like, there's got to be. You just make sure the final product is.
Yeah. Like obviously, like. That's why I have backups on backups and backups. Like I'll go in, I got 3 audio sources on the same thing because I know one of them is bound to fuck up, and they do. Like I had, like 2 weeks ago, I had a card corrupt on me in the middle of speeches. I had another recorder going. I had my laptop with me. During that speech, I put that card in the laptop, recovered it, had it back in, I was still going, but like I'm still shitting my pants. Even like some of the first videos I did, I didn't know how to do slow-mo. I was like, why is my slow-mo all jacked up and like jittery? And then I learned what 60p was like.
Yeah. Dude, when you look at the camera settings, I mean, I go to you for a lot of this. Like even before this, I didn't realize there's like, because you can go deep into everything. You can get into the nerdy stuff and you can get into like, okay, well, this is practical. Like the difference between S-Gamut 3.cine and, well, I was in pro. I was shooting on pro color. Like I don't know what the differences are. I don't know how much it matters, but you know, like
It's in the manual.
Things like that. It's you don't know until you have to know the difference.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or like for you, like having backup, you probably had to have lost some audio before you realized you needed backup.
I haven't. No, I've never lost audio.
Oh, really?
No, but like my first wedding, I only went in with like one source, and it was like,
Oh, jeez.
like I'm lucky. Like we got what we needed, but I mean, when you think of how risky that is on like a day where you only get one shot at something, like then that's when you start doubling up on shit. But like, yeah, like. And going back to what we were saying before, man, like my anxiety with work is like on another level. Like you have so much data that you have to keep safe. You have to make sure you get what you need. Like you can only excuse so much to where your contract is going to cover your ass. Like sorry, I forgot to push record isn't going to cut it.
Yeah.
We're gonna have to redo the whole wedding.
Yeah.
Can you guys do that again?
Yeah. Stop the ceremony. Hold on. Can we take?
Dude, I bet you go to sleep like, oh my, because I don't think people realize when they go into it until it's about to happen. They're like, oh, you know, you get the stomach tingles and you're just like going insane in your brain. Like, what's gonna happen if I don't get this all right?
I envy the people that don't get nervous when they shoot, when they go into something like that. For like, yeah, for running gun shooting. Like if you're not nervous, then you probably don't have all your bases covered. And maybe that's just the way I am. Like I stress the fuck out. Like, I shot a wedding last year. It was like my first like non-friend wedding. Like just didn't know the couple. I did it cheap, but like I still wanted to do a good job. I had like no other like relationship with them. Like they were my first customer. And I didn't sleep the night before. Like I just stayed up the whole night, like checking my gear, making sure everything was charged. Like, okay, I have this, I have that. Showed up at 6 o'clock, bride's house, started shooting, and I was done till like 2 a.m. That's when I got home. I got 4 hours of sleep and then I had a corporate job the next day.
Oh, Jesus.
More shooting. And then the corporate job, we ended up having issues there with footage being overexposed and cards being
I've seen some of the horror.
Yeah. I think I sent you that.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah.
If that was the same day, then yeah, you did.
Yeah.
I remember
You
it.
just
And I was like,
cooked.
I didn't know much back then, but I knew that was not going to be easy to recover. And then you recovered it. That was the crazy thing, is I'm pretty sure you recovered it pretty well.
Yeah. They didn't know. They didn't know.
That leads me to one of the questions I have. I know you got to get going here in a minute, but when it comes to making content, well, I don't know how you call it, I guess, but like final products for your clients, how often do they say, I need to make changes? And I imagine the changes that they want to make have nothing to do with like the audio is peaking, or shit like that.
Yeah. Yeah, no, they more so just like want to see a different shot. I think most of the time when a client is unhappy with something that you do, it's more so a reflection of how they look in it or sound. Corporate work, that's definitely a thing. Wedding work is more like, hey, do you have a shot of this person or do you have a shot of that person? Can you maybe put those in there? It's like, yeah, sure, no problem. I mean, corporate stuff, like I'm dealing with this right now. The client thinks that there's like 500 photos that were taken, but like weren't. So like, yeah. So
why do they think that they were taken?
I no idea.
Like, did they think that was part of your job?
I wasn't the photographer. I contracted.
Yeah. So were they putting it on you?
Yeah, I guess, or like, oh, you didn't edit these, we didn't get them. I was like, no, like I physically don't have these photos.
Yeah.
Like, were they taken? With like, did you tell somebody, like the person that was at the place with the camera, like, did you tell that person to take a picture of that?
That's tough, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh man. Well, one of the I don't know. I keep jumping from question to question. I guess I get so excited. There's so much I want to ask. There's so many things.
You're good.
I'm like, let me get some.
Yeah. well, Sam, if you have any questions,
I have a ton about audio.
Yeah, ask them
right now.
Yeah.
Well, you had one ready.
I did.
I had like 5 that were in the moment questions.
And then I jumped in.
You jumped right in.
Oh, dude, I'm sorry.
You stole them away from me.
I guess they're all related to the fact that when you go into something like, I'm going to shoot video, you're not really going into that. Because if it was just shooting, everyone would do it. You described the fact that you have backups on backups, which means you have to understand how backups work in the first place. You have to understand like hard drives and like which ones are easy. Like if you don't want to drop them, don't drop them. Like you have to understand how many you need, what the file sizes of the videos and the audio are, and then like lighting and things like actually communicating with the DJ and having those personal skills to like figure out what is needed. Like I don't want to scare people off by bringing up all these things. Because like you said, if you just get someone a camera on their hands that you recommend and then they'll figure this stuff out, especially if they're not ready to go do product work or, client work. But at the same time, it is part of it. And you kind of almost have to embrace all of it. And like, do you find that you've learned to love all of that? Like even like backups, and
dude,
some of this ancillary work?
I wouldn't do it if I didn't love it. Like I wouldn't, like I baby my RAIDs. Like my hard drives are like my babies. Like, like I check in on them. I speak to them.
Give them a kiss goodnight.
I run tests, make sure everything's there. Like, I don't know. When you're starting out, that shit doesn't matter. Like it really doesn't. Like it's pretty like secondary to learning. But if people are paying you, then you should be prepared to have that stuff. But also like there's people who are working that still make mistakes and they're still learning too. Like it's not like you have to be perfect before you can start doing this full time. It's just know that you have limitations and you have risks and there's weaknesses that need to be addressed at some point. And if you don't take care of them sooner than later, they're going to bite you in the ass. So you might as well figure that shit out early if you can afford to sort of invest in those things so that you don't have to worry about it. Like, I don't know, instead of spending $1,000 on a lens, maybe spend like $1,000 on a hard drive and like a cloud backup solution. Because what good is all this footage that you got with your new lens if you lose it?
So you got 2 companies. I want to let you promote them a little bit. I promote your work. Where can people find you if they're interested in working with you? How can they do that? Kind of go through the rundown there.
So my wedding film company is called Sonnet and Song Wedding Films. You can check that out at sonnetandsong.com. Otherwise, my personal Instagram, Art Commisso. Just random.
And you have Sonnet and Song on Instagram too.
Yeah. Website, Instagram, YouTube. No.
And where you're based in Ottawa?
No.
Ontario.
Ontario, somewhere in between Niagara Falls and Toronto. Yeah, I don't know if
Because
people know.
do you work locally only, or do you travel for stuff?
I was in Ottawa 2 weeks ago. But
Okay.
yeah, I'll travel anywhere as long as I don't need a work visa.
Right.
Yeah.
So will you go to like the other side of Canada for a wedding?
I'm driving to Alberta on Monday to shoot a dental practice. So
Oh, you are? That's why you're going?
yeah.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Okay, so for those listening, if you're in Canada, Art is willing to drive wherever if the price is right.
Yeah.
Anything you want to say, Sam?
Final thoughts wise, dude, I had so many more questions. I checked out your whole Instagram today.
Oh, cool.
I saw calligraphy on there. Saw some cool drawings. I was wondering if you did them all.
Yeah.
We don't have to do a whole huge little conversation about that. That's awesome.
Yeah, I fucked around. I've done everything, man. I used to do aquariums. Like
Oh yeah,
Aquascapes?
you were an aquascaping.
Oh my god, that was what I was just thinking about that today, and then I looked at your post. I was like, why does that sound so familiar? And I saw that the 3 picture thing you swiped. It was all one picture, but it was so wide. But it was the aquascape thing.
Dude, when I first
Did you
started
make 'em
working
with-
with you, you're doing aquascapes.
I've got more questions. I've always been interested. Did you just do vegetation stuff, or did you do fish stuff as well?
Yeah, there's fish in there. Fish, rocks, plants.
Oh my! Do you have pictures?
I
I can find?
have like my old Instagram.
Videos?
I mean, I used to have a YouTube channel for aquascaping, but
You're joking.
it was bad. Like, it was really bad.
Doesn't matter. I want to see it.
We need to. Okay, here's
I
the
love
thing.
aquascapes, dude.
Here's the thing. It's gonna be no surprise, but we're gonna have Art on again. Because obviously we have more to
so
talk
much
about.
more.
This is like the intro to Art because I
The
want
intro to art. That's a great name for that.
should be the title episode right there. Intro to Art.
Intro to Art.
Because you're eventually. I mean, if you enjoyed this, obviously, but like we have so much more to ask and talk about.
I know. I feel like
I was just jumping and I was too excited.
you're more excited, and I'm like, I don't want to cut you off
Yeah,
because
yeah.
you're doing your thing, but I have so many more questions.
I think
now.
with every person that we have on, we'll have like a day where I ask them questions and a day where you do.
we're splitting up already.
Yeah.
There's gonna be 2 podcasts.
ਲੱਖ ਖੁਸ਼ੀਆਂ ਪਾਤਸ਼ਾਹੀਆਂ ਜੇ ਸਤਿਗੁਰ ਨਦਰ ਕਰੇ Hundreds of millions of happiness are enjoyed if Almighty Vaheguru becomes graceful.
שמח תשמח רעים החביבים כשמחך יצירך בגן עדן מקדם ברוך אתה אדוני אדוני משמח חתן וכלה.
Whatever desire you have, whatever task you have to get fulfilled, come and pray in front of Vaheguru and tell him, please do it for me.
You've made many commitments to each other, both large and small, in the days since you first met. Today, you are signifying your love in marriage.